Hello YouTube, so we're back with episode 2 on our journey to becoming Footsies gods. We're about to win Evo, all of us somehow, that doesn't make sense. But how are we gonna do that? We're gonna follow the Footsies Handbook. One of the best resources for learning the neutral game of Street Fighter and just most 2D fighting games in general. If you haven't seen episode 1, I do recommend going back and watching it. I'll link in the description. You don't necessarily have to watch every single episode, but a lot of the concepts build off each other. So it is recommended to know. Anyway, let's get into it. Chapter 2, element number 4. When your opponent is looking to punish your standard pokes, try whiffing a crouching light kick a few pixels outside of their sweep range. If they mistake it for a slower attack, they'll leave themselves open with their counterattack misses. Be ready to punish the whiff or simply walk up and throw them during the recovery period. This tactic works best during mirror matches and against opponents who can hit your medium pokes on reaction. So yeah, this kind of builds off what we were talking about last episode. I'll show you an example of Street Fighter 6, but let's look at the examples here first. Okay, it doesn't look like I make the quality any better. But what are we looking at here? So yeah, it's very hard to see. One, because the quality, and two, because some of these older Street Fighter games, I feel like the normals and everything just looks so much faster. Maybe that's not actually true. What you're gonna see here is Sagat's gonna walk up. He's gonna miss his crouching light kick on purpose. Balrog will try to whiff punish it, and then Sagat will hit him back. Ready? So right here, watch. He's gonna whiff his crouch light kick. Boom. Balrog tries to hit him, and he gets whiff punished. Kind of hard to see, but we'll show you an example in Street Fighter 6 in a sec. Let's see the second example, or walk up and throw them. Right? So you bait them to whiff. Right there. Right? Whiffs a jab. Okay, so throws him. Whiffs a jab. Ryu tries to poke back. Throws him. Alright. Let's look at what that looks like in Street Fighter 6. Okay, so if you guys remember last time, we talked about how walking into people's ranges to try to make them whiff. We want to make them whiff so we can whiff punish it, right? So you remember the example with Ken where I walked forward, walked back, Ken whiffed a move, and I punished it, right? So what do you do when people are doing this to you? They just want you to whiff something so they can punish it. Well, if you look at Cammy, it's pretty hard. It's very, like, I'm sure there are some players, you know, there's some gods out there, Punk Tokido, well, they'll literally react to this being a medium kick and whiff it. But it's very hard to realize what your opponent whiffed. You're more likely it's like a half guess, half reaction that they will whiff a move, you know, that they like to use at a specific range, and you want to punish it. So the idea here is that by whiffing the light kick, you're hoping that they think it's the medium kick or even your sweep or something, and they try to whiff punish that instead, right? So let's say Chun-Li is one of those players who's just, you know, they're so good, all they want to do is wait for me to whiff, right? So this Chun-Li, every time I whiff my crouch medium kick, she whiff punishes me like that. So what do I want to do now? I want to bait her into thinking I'm gonna whiff by whiffing a crouch light kick instead. Okay, so that's kind of the example that's going here. When someone's really good at whiff punishing you like that, you're just trying to give them something to twitch reaction to, right? Instead of the medium kick, you're giving them the light kick, and you're hoping that they react to this as if you whiffed like a bigger button, and then you whiff punish what they did instead. It's kind of hard to show without a real match, but I hope you get the idea. This was pretty simple, so I didn't think I had to go out of my way to find a clip, but maybe I should have. Anyway, let's get back to the next part. Okay, element 5. If your opponent starts overusing the feints explained above, take a quick step forward and attack with your strongest combo in sync with their rhythm. Light attacks may be fast, but they're certainly not immune to mind games. Mike Watson is known for making excellent use of such fakes, but Onuki's third strike Chun-Li found a way to make him pay. Let's look at the examples here. So this is Mike Watson using the fakes, I'm guessing. Yeah, so he's whiffing light kicks and punishing right there. So this is actually a perfect example. So watch Ryu. He's gonna whiff a light kick after this right there. The Ken thought it was a bigger button, tries to whiff punish it, misses, and then Ryu whiff punishes back, right? So that was a perfect example of the element we just talked about. But what happens when someone's doing this to you? You kind of call them out on it. You're saying, I know you're whiffing a light. So you take an extra step forward and you want to hit their light. So look at this. So Chun-Li knows that Ken wants to do this. So what does she do? Rather than trying to wait and react to what Ken's whiffing, they say, you know, you're whiffing lights to bait me. I'm just going to walk up and hit you. I'm going to walk up further than I usually am used to. I'm going to pass my crouch medium kick range and just walk up to you and hit you. Right? So watch this. Immediately takes an extra step forward, buffers the super, hits him. Right, so let's say Chun-Li was doing the... Let's go back in here. Okay, so let's say Chun-Li was doing this to me, right? So I'm sitting here trying to react to something. She did light kick and I try to whiff punish her. It doesn't work, right? You're not whiff punishing a light kick. Oh, she twitched and I try to do it. So rather than trying to react now, I realize this is the kind of player who's trying to feint me, right? They realize it's like multi-step mind game. They realize I'm trying to whiff punishing them. So I realized that they're trying to bait me to whiff punish them by whiffing moves that aren't actually whiff punishable on reaction. What do? You walk up even further and you say, I know you're doing these feints. I'm gonna walk into that range, and I'm not even trying to whiff punish you anymore. I'm trying to hit the startup of your light kicks because you're doing them too obviously. Yeah, and you can buffer your drive rush. You'll see this a lot in high level play where people will just walk up and they'll do crush medium kick, buffer drive rush. Sometimes it's just because, you know, maybe they're YOLOing the medium kick, but a lot of times you're trying to hit the startup of them reacting to you walking up, or you know that they're whiffing lights a lot. Yeah, pretty good concept. These two work together a lot where, you know, sometimes you whiff moves that are not whiff punishable just to try to get people to like react to your twitches in your character. And sometimes you can realize people are doing it to you and take extra steps forward, be more aggressive. Don't look for whiff punishes anymore. Go counter hit them for doing that. Beautiful. So element 6. Always be on the lookout for changes in your opponent's behavior, especially when they gain access to super meter. When people start edging back and forth at mid-range, that's a sign they're fishing for something to nail with a super. Remember what Daigo's SF4 Ryu did to Punko at Capcom's International Exhibition? Now, this is one of my favorite clips ever. I actually did remember that this was in the Footsies Handbook. Stick to quick normals in that situation. Don't test the reactions with slow special moves, or better yet, lock them into block stun, then bait the super from a safe distance. So let's look at that one. So this, I remember this clip. It's Guile, sorry, not Guile. Oh, this is not the clip I was thinking about. I was thinking of Ryu versus Dhalsim. But yeah, so this is a good example. I'll show you in Street Fighter 6. This happens a lot. Ryu's Ultra, he does this super move and it beats other fireballs, obviously, because it's like a 9-hit fireball. So you can see him twitching up and down. He sees the fireball, he does a super back. This is something that will happen a lot in Street Fighter 6 with this exact character. If you see Cammy, if you're a character that throws fireballs, okay? And Cammy has 3 bars and you see her doing this, okay? Do not throw your fireball. Do not, if anything, bait it, you know? If you're DJ, do your feint. I fall for this a lot. I love trying to hit full screen fireballs with Cammy. Or you could just press other buttons to be like, I know what you're doing. Like, try to react to something, you know what I mean? I do this too. If I'm ever playing a fireball character against Cammy, I'll just start whiffing normals to kind of bait them to super. And then they realize, okay, that I know that you're trying to do this. And you know, we could play a different game. But yeah, don't play this reaction game with Cammy. If you're a fireball character and you notice Cammy has level 3, and even if you don't notice her twitching, you probably will, especially at lower levels. Don't bite, right? You'll like take a look at what the person's doing. If you see this, do not never throw a fireball. She'll go through it. She'll go through it from most of the whole screen. Okay. Do not throw a fireball. Now, this doesn't necessarily have to be against Cammy if you're a fireball character. It could be a lot of other things. Let's take a look at the examples. Okay, so the other example here is, or better yet, lock them into block stun, then bait the super from a deceptively safe distance. So let's see what happens here. Yeah, so this Ultra's not going to hit, right? Because he did it from a distance. Okay, so Daigo had to block this. Actually, I don't know which one's which, but okay, the Ryu in the white had to block this. And then by the time this fireball gets to them, Blue Ryu can block in time. So they kind of baited them to use the Ultra. If you're from a range that you know that you can block in time, you can bait the super. The other thing I wanted to talk about, this isn't necessarily what's going on in the, not what they're talking about in the exact element 6 here, but a big thing in Street Fighter 6 is that when you're in burnout, you can no longer react to drive impact with your own drive impact, right? So what will people do? They will start mashing and buffering their supers, okay? I have 3 clips here that we're gonna show. Look at Luke. He's buffering, okay? He does not want to get drive impacted. If he does get drive impact, look at him. See how he's just twitching up and down? He wants the super. He wants it because he can't do anything else. If you drive impact, he can't do anything else, and then he does the super, okay? Watch out for people who really want a super when they're in burnout, especially when they're cornered. You'll notice people buffering like crazy. Do not give them something to super. This is a perfect example. I love this one. So like, almost exact same thing. You gave Luke's in burnout, he's buffering a super because he kind of has to, right? If you drive impact, he has to have that super ready. So you kind of, by giving him a big gap like this, you kind of just gave him an excuse to do the super. What happens next? Diaphone, the genius that he is, realizes this can happen again. What does he do? Jab, walks back. Because Luke is buffering the super. He's looking for a gap to super because he's in burnout. He's going to be buffering the super. He can't use his own drive impact. He needs to, right? Another example here. Right, JP's in burnout now. So if Punk ever clicks drive impact, JP has to have that super ready. It's very hard to super input it. You notice someone drive impacted, you input double quarter circle, so you have to buffer early. And when you're buffering early, you're kind of looking for any excuse to press it, right? So what does Punk do? He gives him an intentional gap, stops, boom. Punishes the super. He knows that JP wanted the super there. He's in burnout. He's probably buffering it. He literally drops, I think he drops his combo on purpose to give it to him, right? Does he? Oh, it wasn't a combo, but yeah, you get the point, right? You have to notice that there are times where people really want to super and either give it to them because you're gonna block it, or don't give it to them in the case where it's Cammy looking for you to fireball full screen. So yeah, not too much here. I think these ones are pretty simple, so I don't have to find too many examples. In general, for the future episodes, I've already started looking for, as you see here in my Google Doc, I started looking for examples in games while I'm watching tournaments, so we could show you, like, you know, the professionals doing them. But yeah, I hope you learned something about, you know, feinting, beating people feinting, and playing around other people's supers. But let's see how the end of this article ends. By now, you should be starting to see what veteran players mean when they say everything has a counter. Footsies is more than technical knowledge. It all hinges on constant analysis of your opponent to determine what tactic to apply at any given moment. Look for patterns. Yeah, so again, a lot of these things interconnect, right? People wait for whiff punishes, you give them feints. People are feinting because they know you're waiting, so you interrupt their feints. There's a lot of, you know, rock, paper, scissors, times of infinity in these. Anyway, rule number 1, never get predictable. Great advice. If you can't read your opponent's intentions for whatever reason, or if you simply lose track of your opponent's train of thought, do not under any circumstance fall back to your default game plan. Play it safe or do something random, something your opponent has never seen you do before. Otherwise, you'll find yourself walking or flying home with a bewildered look on your face, trying to remember what exactly it was you got hit by. I'm very curious what this is. I haven't seen this in forever. Is this the Dhalsim example? I think this is it. Oh, it is. Okay. This is so random. This is one of my favorite clips ever. So you can whiff punish Dhalsim's limbs. Watch this. So you know he was fishing for that last time, right? When he whipped the Shoryuken. Look at this. Daigo press Shoryuken into super, hitting Dhalsim's extended limbs. I don't know why this is an example here, but I love this clip. It's something I love showing people when they say Dhalsim's so hard to fight. He is, but there's counterplay. You can hit his limbs. It doesn't have to be a Shoryuken, right? You can just do punch outside of range. Anyway, hope you learned something. I hope you look forward to the next video. I'm really looking forward to episode 3 and 4 because I've looked ahead and I started looking for clips, and some of the examples are amazing. Thank you for stopping by. If you like what you saw, I would appreciate a like and a subscription. I'll see you next time on our path to become Footsies gods. Stay beautiful, everyone.